I found out one thing that is caused by global warming. It's a terrible rash of conferences. Talkfest, where thousands and thousands of delegates fly to some lovely city. Think of all the emissions from those flights. To stay in nice hotels and talk and talk and talk. Talking in Rio, in Copenhagen, in Bali, in Lima, Cancun was another one, Paris, of course, Marrakesh, Katowice, and on and on. Well, the latest meeting over the next week is in Bonn, which comes with the obligatory scary video, of course, that we face disaster and the end of civilization. We don't at least have another conference. Well, that next conference will be in Chile in December. Still, they discuss serious issues, and following this conference is Graeme Lloyd, the excellent environment editor of the Australian newspaper. Graeme, it's great to catch up with you at last. What is this conference supposed to sort out that all the others have not managed so far?
Oh, good evening, Andrew. Good to be here. This meeting is really the mid-year meeting of a rolling festival that will never end, and it's designed to really tidy up a lot of the issues that weren't satisfactorily dealt with in Katowice in Poland in December, and set the scene for the next meeting in Chile. But along the way, there's several themes that will keep running, and I think this meeting is important for the community that follows these talks because it sets up a meeting in New York where they will be trying to persuade people to do more and do it quicker.
Well, you write in The Australian today that Australia expects to get the usual criticism, but there are other big countries that aren't living up to their promises to slash emissions in line with the Paris Agreement, aren't there?
Well, there are, and I think this is the great truism and something that people should really bear in the back of their mind when they hear the criticisms that are made of Australia. There's very few countries that are actually meeting the promises they make, and it really is a lot of countries decide to overpromise and underdeliver, and that can't really, Australia can't really be accused of that. They tend to honour what they say they'll do, and the criticism they get for it is that they haven't promised to do enough.
Well, at least, exactly. Quarrel with our promises, but at least we're meeting them, unlike others. The world has now spent trillions of dollars on global warming schemes. What difference has that made to the contribution that wind and solar power makes to the world's electricity supplies?
Well, the thing that's becoming really clear is that if that is indeed the solution to the problem, it's a very big problem because the world demand for energy continues to grow, and if anything, all the billions of dollars or trillions of dollars that are being spent on renewable energy are standing still rather than taking a dent out of the share of the bigger pie that's being made by coal and gas and fossil fuels. So I think there was always a hope that the renewable industry would gather a momentum and it would start to replace the fossil fuel industry. But the reality is that the fossil fuel industry is still growing. Carbon dioxide emissions are continuing to increase, and that wind back just hasn't been taking place.
As I understand from your article, what is it? Solar and wind make up 8% of the world's electricity, but only 2% of the total energy production when you throw in transport and heat and all that kind of stuff.
That's right. The hard, cold fact is that electricity is only a relatively small part of total energy use. Heating and transportation make up the vast bulk of it, and they're not being displaced at all by renewable energy sources. And even when it comes to electricity generation, the share of wind and solar is only 8% of what is 17% of total demand.
Now, Graeme, I should make clear, while I am a sort of, crusader on these issues, an opinionista, you are a straight journalist from an environmentalist background. I want people to know that I'm not trying to force you into being a warrior here. From your observation, though, So we've had a minimal change in the proportion of renewable energy in the world's power supplies. We've had an increase in sort of carbon dioxide emissions. Have we had a lot more disasters than consequentially following climate disasters related to global warming?
Well, I think, Andrew, that's a very, difficult question to answer in terms of are events related to a warming climate or whatever. I think the best evidence at this stage, and it's even the evidence from the IPCC, is that it is very difficult to assign events to climate warming. There's a branch of climate science that's trying to tie events to it. But this is a very long horizon thing. One of the issues is we're not going to know for many decades whether the predictions that are being made are in fact true, and that allows people to make wild predictions. But I think, it's best at this stage that have an open mind.
Graeme, and you have kept an open mind on this. I think your work in the Australian has been terrific, and I urge people to read your articles in the Australian, particularly today. So thank you very much indeed for joining us.
That's terrific. Thank you, Andrew.